Hi everyone, welcome to another video. So today I'm going to be using some of the products that I mentioned in my most recent makeup haul. Here is my bare face. I did put on some Dominate Cosmetics primer. I also put on some of the Rem Beauty blurring under eye balm already. I gave those things a couple minutes to just sit. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go straight in with the usual. So first off, I'm gonna start off with my Rare Beauty corrector. I really try not to forget to use this because I feel like it does make a pretty big difference with how my under eyes look. At the time that I'm filming this, the Sephora sale starts tomorrow. I don't really know what I want to do about it. I mean, I'm trying to remind myself the sale comes around twice a year, and how much energy do I have to test all the makeup I want to? Like, initially I had a bunch of blushes in my cart and I was like, I mean, when am I gonna actually get around to filming with them? I am going to use my little SUQQU the foundation sample in 205. I have been really liking this, and I wish I had the money to buy the full version, but for the time being I'm just gonna keep using this sample. It's a pretty, let me hold it right, it's a pretty generous amount, so I do quite like it, and this jar is sealed well enough that I think it should be able to last me a good long while. I find that even if it's marketed as a little bit more on the cool end of things, Asian foundations tend to still match me better than Western foundations, because even when the undertones claim to be cool, I feel like they still have a bit of a nuance to them that makes them work well for like Asian skin tones. Because you know how especially if you're like Chinese or whatever, that it's very common for people to automatically assume you must have yellow undertones, but the truth is that you can have cool undertones but still have but your skin can still read as yellow toned at first glance, but you actually can have cool undertones in spite of that. And so I feel like Asian foundations, even when they claim a foundation is cool toned, they still keep that yellow overtone in mind, and so the shade still ends up working really well for me. This new version of their cream foundation, I've noticed, also has a little bit more coverage than prior releases of this formula. I want to get it after I've cleaned out my foundation collection so that I'll actually use it. But I've even actually tried using this with a brush, and I really liked how it looked with a brush too. Okay, I'm gonna use a little bit of setting spray just because I feel like otherwise my concealer will be dry. This is just my Charlotte Tilbury setting spray. I have the one with the flower packaging. It's really pretty. Okay, for concealer, I'm going to go in with my brand new JX concealer, I think. I feel like this one might be finally starting to kind of dry out, so I've decided that I maybe should actually go ahead and start using the new one. This one is Triple Concealer Bright, so it's lighter, which is why I went for this one. So it means I can actually use all three shades. I accidentally had too much on my brush, so just dab it out with my finger really quick. My under eyes are a little bit on the dry side. I feel like maybe I need to do an eye cream and then do the blurring under eye balm. I'm not so sure. I feel like it's more of a smoothing balm, but it's not really a hydrating balm. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of call that good for now because I don't want to exacerbate any potential dryness or anything like that. So I am going to do my eyebrows. I don't know. I am going to be using my Iconic Smoke, what I use my Rouge Reward gift card for, so because of that I don't know if I should use eye primer. I did put the blurring under eye balm on my eyelids, see what that does, so maybe I'll forego the primer today just to see if the under eye balm does anything. I'm just curious. We're science experimenting over here, so I'm going to do my eyebrows. Man, I really need to get Botox in my frown lines again. My lips are pointing straight down. See, my bangs always get nasty before the rest of my head does, but if I washed my hair as often as my bangs needed it, my scalp and my hair would both be so dry. My brows have definitely looked blockier. I feel like I actually did a pretty good job keeping them somewhat reined in today. Okay, so before I go in with eyeshadow, one of the things I had meant to use in my last Get Ready With Me and then I completely forgot was this Glossier Cloud Paint in Sale. I used to really like the Cloud Paint blushes, but I also was really bad at using them, so I felt like it was like the fantasy version of me that wanted to like them because everyone else at the time liked them. And for a while I kind of swore off cream and liquid blushes altogether. As you guys probably, if you guys have been watching my videos for some time, then you'll know that for the longest time I used to say that I couldn't use cream and liquid blushes. I felt like they ate my foundation. I've gotten a lot better at using them now, and now I definitely have been branching out, but I never really ended up going back to the Glossier Cloud Paint blushes. So I'm a little bit nervous to try this, but at the same time the shade just seemed so promising. For those who don't know, you can make it so that less comes out by just poking a hole in the seal as opposed to like tearing the whole thing off. Then you can really control how much comes out. It's less of an issue with bronzer, I would imagine, but like for example with blush, like, you know, it's definitely a potential problem that you accidentally would like take out way too much. So I just poked a really tiny hole in the middle. I feel like it also lets it go bad a little bit slower because it's just less coming out. I feel like this is actually going to be too much even. This tube packaging is so nostalgic for me because this is like how they package like Chinese brush paint inks. You know, it would be helpful if I like got my brushes out before I sat down to film. Just a thought, Fox. Try it sometime. Okay, I'm gonna try using this brush. This is a Sigma multitasker. I do quite like it. And I'm going to first spread the product out on the back of my hand, like so. Really just get it in the bristles. The color, if this formula works for me, then I love how soft this color looks on my cheek, because this means that I basically can't over apply this, which is what I look for in my bronzers. If for those who you might have noticed and wondered to yourself, why are they using such light bronzers that barely show up? Don't they know that they should step down a shade or two? I do that on purpose because I am not very good at applying bronzer, and one of all the products on the planet that you can put on way too much of and have it look really bad really fast, bronzer and contour are definitely one of them. So I err on the side of lighter so that I don't ever have to worry about over application. Okay, well that didn't end up being too much on the back of my hand because the pigmentation on this is so soft. Maybe I should go back and try the Cloud Paint blushes, I don't know. Do you see how soft that looks on me? If the formula ends up being something I can get along with, then I really like this color. This is exactly the color I look for in my bronzer. That was fun. That was fun. That was a fun product for me to use. I had a lot of fun just now. I kind of want to get into using makeup palettes just because I kind of get a little bit annoyed with having to like constantly wipe the back of my hand clean. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom in, and the reason I'm doing that is because I'm just gonna go ahead and jump straight into eyeshadow. So this is what Iconic Smoke looks like. I'm still in denial about being addicted to Tom Ford, so we're just not gonna talk about that, but I do really want Ember Bronze. But I don't want to get it if I use this one and hate it, because Tom Ford for some reason thought that it would be totally appropriate to reformulate their Creme formula, even though they've only released what, like, you know, 1.5 palettes with the Creme formula. But sure, go ahead and reformulate it already, why don't you? The Creme formula in like Forbidden Pink, for instance, is amazing. Why ruin a good thing? So I got Iconic Smoke with my Rouge Reward gift card. If I like it, I may go ahead and get Ember Bronze in the future. If I don't like it, then, well, I'll just have to feel betrayal and stew in it in silence. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start off with the lightest shade, and I'm gonna put this kind of across my orbital socket area so that the darker shades have something to blend into later. And for that, I am using a Sonia G Worker 1. Although in my humble experiences, I have found that the Creme formula works fine with synthetic or natural. It's not really super picky either way. There are a lot of really good synthetic brushes on the market now these days, so I feel like these days, more than ever, I can kind of swing either way. These days, in terms of brushes, we are a lot more spoiled for choice than we used to be. And it's like the invisible shade, right? Like if this shade had a name, it would be Invisible. And again, I didn't put on any eye primer today. I just have the Rem Beauty Blurring Under Eye Balm on my eyelid, seeing if maybe that would be a sufficient eye primer. Still not tinted, but I just thought it'd be worth a try. I don't know, I was kind of interested. And I hope this look turns out okay, because I do want to film a makeup news video after this. I do need to get it up before I go out of town again, just for the weekend. This was planned well in advance before I went to Johns Hopkins, so I'm not super happy about having to be out of the house so much during this quarter of my life, but I'm gonna go into this shade. So this will be kind of a smokier look, which is fine. I'm gonna maybe like concentrate it like out here. Maybe I need to switch to a smaller brush, we'll see. I'm gonna start also blowing it out. Probably used too big of a brush for this shade, just for the position I had wanted to put it in. There are the TF embossings in the pans, but they are super shallow, so even just from the couple strokes I'm making in the pan, it's already, the TF embossings are already gone. So just for those who care, I don't know how much I really care too much about those, and I don't really care about pan embossings unless they're super cute or super pretty. Generally speaking, I don't really care one way or another, and so especially like logo embossings I don't really care about, so I'm not super bothered by them being so shallow. But like for example, I have some collectible items like the Becca Rat highlighter, I think, where the embossing is literally the reason I got it, so I actually don't even use it. That's a collector's piece I display. Feels a little bit more powdery than the previous Creme formula. Like it feels even like more dry, like less creamy, more powdery. Kind of is more reminiscent of a Natasha Denona cream to powder. I'm gonna switch to a smaller brush now. I'm gonna use the Rephr 01 Mini so that I can put this shade on the inner part of my eyelid. I didn't mean to apply it that far into my inner corner, but I guess we're just rolling with it now. This feels a lot like drier and less creamy than the previous formulation did. But once again, like any clumps that are on my eyelid, I can diffuse. I just like tap it with the brush and they blend out pretty easily, so that's nice at least. I don't want to like I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses for this quad because this is so expensive, it should work with whatever, but I just want to acknowledge that I am messing around with my eyelid prep today, so if it doesn't perform as I expected, that could be a major factor, especially because my eyelids are so dry. Like proper preparation or improper preparation, as you have seen before, can really make or break how my eyeshadows look. Like if I don't prep my eyelids properly, I can even make, you know, Fantasy Cosmetica shadows look and wear terribly on me. Like I'm capable of doing that, and those are not bad shadows by any stretch of the imagination. So, but yeah, this definitely is not as creamy as the creams used to be. I personally don't like that, but I don't necessarily know if that's going to impact the overall quality or wear time. I mean, we'll see, I guess. Okay, and then I'm also going to start putting that on the lower lash line. Okay, I'm gonna go into the darker shade, the darkest shade in this palette. Focus. Like a near black. Let's see, it looks like it has a little bit of a sheen to it. It might be pretty. And I'm leaving the middle blank because I am gonna put a shimmer there, so. These are coming off as a lot more desaturated than I anticipated. There's a lot more gray in them than I was expecting. Getting a little bit of fallout down there. It's blending well and it is building up, but I just can't necessarily say I like that. Like I just don't think it was necessary to reformulate this. Knowing the way things are going these days, it was probably reformulated to make it cheaper to make, which is like funny to me because I mean the profit margin on this palette must already be pretty insane. I don't know how much more they can possibly want. If I like press it down first and then gently tap to blend, I get less fallout. It is getting nice and dark, like can't deny, that's nice. And then I'll just take a little bit of this right on the outer corners. Not bad, not bad. I'm gonna go in with like a fluffier brush. This one is so splayed out just because, you know, Morphe does that. I'm gonna go into that lightest shade I used earlier. Just kind of, I think I'll just go ahead and start. Kind of want to blend out the top a little bit. I do like how this formula, it's not making my eyelids feel dry at all, and it's not emphasizing any dry patches. I do really like that. It's sitting really well on my skin. It's not showing any texture or cakiness. which sometimes powder shadows can do. I feel like I may go into other shadows outside of this quad because I feel like there's something between this shade and this shade. There's like, I need to, focus please. I need to use something that's between this shade and this shade. Like this is a little bit abrupt, so I really want to try this shimmer because it looks so pretty in the pan, but we'll see how it actually performs. This shimmer just looks like, this is why I picked Iconic Smoke first, was just because this shimmer, like, this is totally a me kind of shade. So I dipped into the pan a little bit too hard because I was worried nothing would get picked up. My worries were very much unfounded. I totally was able to apply a ton. I spoke too soon. Definitely will need to fish elsewhere for an inner corner highlighter though. And it doesn't feel heavy, like I'm not feeling it as I blink. And it's really concealing my wrinkles. It's not emphasizing anything. Well, I almost could say that I like this palette for this shimmer alone. I'm gonna go a lot slower on this on my left eye now that I know. I don't want to pick up too much on accident again. I actually wonder if using a synthetic brush might make it better for me to use these creams. I don't know, I'm just having this hunch. So I'm gonna try using this brush, the mattes, because right now it feels like it's kind of abrupt between the two. I need a transition between them better. So I'm gonna switch to using this flatter brush that's a little bit more dense. I wonder if that might make it apply a lot better because the natural hair brushes I just used are a little bit more diffuse, so that may have contributed to why I was feeling like I wasn't really getting the best use case out of these, was just the brush type wasn't right. Yeah, I feel like that went on a lot better. Okay, yeah, using a denser brush definitely made things a lot better. Yeah, it works well with a finger too, although of course that would be expected of a cream formula, but I just wanted to like see if I could just make sure I get it nice and smooth across all of my wrinkleness. Honestly, like, the way my eyelids feel these days feels akin to how Teresa is Dead would describe them, but I don't want to get demonetized. That is actually, okay, that's actually really, really pretty, and I really, really like this. Once I like kind of figured out the brush situation, I think in the future I just need to maybe hydrate my eyelids a little bit more. Maybe don't use just the Rem Beauty Blurring Under Eye Balm because honestly it's a lot more focused on blurring as opposed to hydrating. So I need to definitely like figure out how to pair that with something else underneath it. Okay, next I'm going to take that shimmer shade on my lower lash line. I'm using a Rephr 03, which is like my favorite lower lash line brush. That is just so nice. It's kind of, I don't know if you guys can see in the camera, I feel like sometimes my lower lash line stuff, I'm like, it's hard for me to show it at an angle where you can see everything, but I actually was like, wait, hold on. I don't need to dig into another palette. I have my singles and I literally don't use them enough. So I'm going to use my HINCE single in Authentic. I actually use this one kind of a lot. It's such a nice shade. I really like using it. And I'm going to use this to blend out everything. This is just such a unique shade. I really had wanted to pick up more from this range, but HINCE is kind of pricey. And for the longest time, it also wasn't very accessible. So paying the shipping and the reseller markup on top of it only made it even more expensive. These were available on Olive Young for a little bit, but they're pretty much all gone from there now. I'm not really so sure where, and like I checked Beauty Box Korea, most of these shades are now sold out, so I'm pretty sure HINCE discontinued these, which is a shame. So sadly I don't think I'll ever have anything more than this shade, but I would have loved to have owned more because all of the shades in this collection from HINCE were actually really, really unique. And I feel like that's kind of what HINCE excels at, is they just kind of have some really unusual shades of things. For my inner corner, I'm going to use this Bobbi Brown Luxe Eyeshadow in Moonstone, one of my favorites. A lot of these Bobbi Brown Luxe shadows I think are probably one of my favorite single shadow formulas on the market. and I have been getting pretty lucky lately with catching them half off. So like the recent New Year's collection, I actually got all 3 for 50% off, which is great because these are like actually insanely expensive nowadays. I think they're like 40 bucks now or something. Can I kind of dot it over the Tom Ford shade first? Just add a little extra sparkle in the center. I am gonna also go ahead and take a little bit on my finger and just kind of tap it right, like kind of at like right around where my eyebrow arch is. Okay, so this is my eye look. I'm actually really into it now that I've kind of figured things out a little bit better. So I'm gonna go ahead and put on some mascara off camera. I think I should be able to get away with just mascara today. I finally got in. Ulta was merciful enough to bring back some of their items half off for the last day, and I had completely forgotten to buy another lash idol, so I did get another one. Okay, so I just put on some mascara. I just kind of wanted to see how far I could push my lashes. I feel like they are slowly growing back in, so you can kind of see them. I am not the greatest at, I have some days where they'll curl and they'll behave and they'll curl all nicely without looking tangled, and then I'll have other days where I feel like they go in like a million different directions even if I curl them, so then they end up not really, and some of them will curl more than others. So like on this eye, I have some that curled all the way up, and then I have some that only curled partially up, so it kind of looks like I have just like really ridiculous lashes. But I think my lashes are slowly growing back in now. I just kind of have really weird cycles where like all of my lashes will shed at once, and I think they're growing in, so they're kind of visible, right? So I do really want to kind of add a little bit more eye definition, so I'm going to pull out my liquid liner from Urban Decay. This is their Perversion liner. It's my favorite from them. I don't know if they're discontinuing it because they release new ones with the grip, but so I'm just going to take this and gently kind of go over my inner corner. And I do, generally speaking, tend to prefer to do eyeliner after mascara if I'm wearing mascara, just because once my lashes are curled and they're pushing back against my monolids, my eyes do change shape slightly. Okay, well that was a mistake, so I'm gonna have to do the thing where I go back to the other eye. And then another thing that I do like to do is I like to take it just right. It kind of just makes my lashes look a little bit thicker. I feel like with the eyeliner on, my lashes are just so invisible, but that's okay. So I'm gonna cover up my eyeshadow and my mascara. I don't really want to smear that or anything, so. I actually wonder if this might work. It's a Jaclyn blush, so I'm not gonna put it on the screen or anything, but I have it, I like it, I'll use it. I think this might actually be alright. It's kind of, I don't think I would call this mauve, but it is a cooler rose toned blush, I think I'd call it. And I'll just apply this broadly on the, kind of just wrapping around the entire side of my face. I'll apply it like that. And I'll use setting powder to kind of diffuse what I think I over applied, so that should be fine. I'm just glad I didn't spend full price on these. That's nice at least. I'm just gonna go for like a neutral highlighter, I think. I'm just gonna use the highlighter in the Play Bento Sugar Cookie 00000. It's actually, it is a really nice highlighter. I think this has been out of stock for a while though. I kind of wish they restock it. Did they discontinue these? These are actually pretty good. And I'm just gonna lightly dab this on my cheeks. But I do need to use some kind of finishing powder to blend out this blush, or else I'm going to be bothered by it. So I'm going to use my Kogendo powder here. This is definitely my preferred powder of choice when my skin's really dry, but I still need to, like, you know, use something to buff out my blush. And I really do like this brush. This is a Lauralee L33. I do actually really like it because it's one of the few brushes in my collection that is soft enough that I can buff powder in and I don't feel like I'm irritating my dry skin. Most of the time when I apply powder, I use a gentle patting motion, and I still do that for my under eyes, but with this powder I can like actually really like, you know, swirl and push the powder into my skin and it doesn't make me feel itchy or flaky. Okay, so I do really want to use one of the Floofy matte balms from AOU. I don't know if this will be like too purple for this, but we'll try it. I am a little bit nervous because my lips are a little bit dry. I did put on a lip balm, but like I forgot to wear a lip mask last night, so but I'm gonna start off with a more beige toned lip liner. I really am concerned my lips are like a little too dry, so I'm gonna take just a tiny bit more lip balm. Like I've got like the crusties and stuff. Okay, so this is the AOU Floofy Matte Balm and I have it in shade 04. I also have it in the shade 02. Oh yeah, it has like kind of like a jelly feel. Like it feels kind of doughy, but it also has like still has a softness to it. There is an applicator that AOU sells. I didn't buy it because I didn't really know if I needed it, but I'll see if my finger can do it. It feels really light actually. Surprisingly, it's not really emphasizing my texture. Like you can see my lip lines, but that's just like typical. I don't have lip filler or anything. Although it would be nice, wouldn't it? That is actually, I was not expecting it to look this purple. Wow. I almost don't know if this necessarily is like my kind of color, but I like it. And it feels really, really nice, feels very airy. I don't really feel like it's drying my lips out or it's not really sitting on them like in a bad way. Kind of like how these have the glossy packaging. Okay, so that was the shade, again, that was the shade 04 Cold Balm. You can get these on Beauty Box Korea, but you can also get them on Amazon. AOU does have an official Amazon storefront. I think that's the easiest way to get them. And personally, I do really, really like the glossy ones. The glossy ones come in the matte packaging. These are really nice. I think if you are like wanting a tinted lip balm that you can wear to hydrate your lips, add some color, it just really does like everything and you're just really into that right now, I think you would really appreciate these. Plus I think the shades are actually really, really unique and special. My favorite one is actually the shade Mulberry Balm. This one is also one of the more popular ones in Korea as well. I think if you're into cooler tone lips and you want something a little bit more subtle, you might actually really like this. I wouldn't necessarily say the balm is hydrating since it's a matte balm, which to me is just such an oxymoron, but it feels a lot better than I thought it would. And like I had so many crusties, but they're barely emphasized. Like what? That's crazy. Okay, so you can probably tell my under eyes are on the dry side today, so I've had better under eye days. Live and you learn. I definitely didn't prep enough, so I'll keep experimenting with that. But other than that, my makeup's done, so I'll just kind of quickly, my bangs are super greasy, so I don't really want them down, but I'll take them down. I did get my reds redone, so at the very least, you know, I don't look like I have like abrupt bad bleaching. Okay, so this is gonna just be my makeup done. So I do apologize, the eyeliner is not quite to my standards, but other than that I think everything else turned out fine. My skin is on the dry side, doesn't look the greatest, like, you know, give it like 2 hours my skin is gonna look super sucked in, but I do really like everything that I put on my face. I'm surprised by a lot of things. I think with the Iconic Smoke, it's just going to take me a little bit more experimentation figuring out the best brushes to use. This new formula does seem to be a little bit more brush picky than usual. I did notice that because I was using those fluffier brushes, I even saw little dots of pigment on like my nose and down here. Now, granted, I just kind of can do this and it blends out so rapidly that you can't notice it anymore unless you looked really up close. But I definitely don't remember the old Creme formula being this powdery, so I'm not really super certain I like that, because one of the things I liked about the original Creme formula was that it was like, you know, creamy, versus this one it's starting to act more and more like a powder shadow. So it's like, well then what's the point of this formula existing anymore? You might as well just turn it into a powder shadow. But I do really like how it didn't dry out my eyelids. Even though my eyelids are on the dry side, I was trying to use only this today, That was not a good idea. It didn't really work, but worth the experimentation. I'll keep messing around. But even despite that, it still went on really well. My eyelids don't look dry. No, none of the dryness or texture is emphasized. You know, I do have lines on my eyelids now. It is a fact of life, but these eyeshadows don't really emphasize them too much, so that's really great. But yeah, that'll be this little simple makeup, kind of on the smokier side of things. I haven't really used a almost borderline denim-ish blue, but even more desaturated. I haven't really used a shade of blue like this in like what feels like forever. I don't even know if I like really have a shade like this that I can think of off the top of my head like immediately. I was kind of nervous when I saw how desaturated it was because I'm not usually a fan of gray shadows, but I actually really like how this looks on me, so kudos to that. So I don't know if I'll get Ember Bronze. I'll have to think really hard about it, and I'll have to keep messing around with this, but if I got Ember Bronze, I don't think I'd regret it. I kind of do wish I'd put on false lashes for this, just because like the mascara with this eye look, I just feel like my eyes are so, like, my lashes are just so wimpy, but I just kind of wanted to like, I want to lean more into my natural lashes. I want to be able to maximize them more. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do apologize, I'm always a little bit scatterbrained. I do have another video I have to film after this. I have to film my new makeup releases video after this because I need to edit that before I go. So I'm gonna do that quickly. As always, feel free to leave a comment or whatever. I always like responding to you guys, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.